Robe is on location in and around Auckland, New Zealand with lighting designer David Eversfield. So tell me, how do you know this incredible venue?
So this is the Civic Theatre in Auckland, New Zealand. It was originally a picture house, cinema theatre in the 1920s, but was converted into a space for live performance, concerts, theatre shows about 20 years ago. It has a wonderful auditorium that when you put a show on in this theatre, you're obliged to have a 14-minute house fade before you can start the show, and that includes the sunset, the stars coming out over the audience, some animated clouds, and a few shooting stars as well. So I think this is a very special place for creating live experiences. This is a special location in the Viaduct Harbour where you get a beautiful view of the Auckland city skyline.
So let's just rewind a little bit and talk about when you first got interested in lighting and why. What sparked that? Because I understand that you started really young working with dram companies.
Exactly.
That was here in Auckland, yeah?
In Auckland I started with amateur dramatic companies probably when I was about 5. By the time I reached 13, I was working with that amateur theatre group, operating the lights, programming the boards for the shows, and then for probably the next decade after that, hung out with that same group, directing shows, acting in the shows, rigging the lights, looking after all of the different elements within the production, and it gave me a great appreciation and understanding for the power of theatrical storytelling. And the lighting operation and lighting design bit never stopped since then.
Was there like a first or significant project that you can remember that really sort of made you think, right, this is great, this is the career for me?
There were a few significant projects because I ended up with a few different parallel streams of lighting going on. There was time being interested in concert lighting stuff, there was theatrical lighting stuff, and then architectural and events lighting stuff. I met a gentleman called Jeremy Collins who ran or created Silicon here in New Zealand, a significant lighting manufacturer, and he saw a show that I had designed and made a whole lot of introductions after that show, which really opened a lot of doors.
Tell me a bit about OPTICSHOCK, which is your company. When did you start the company and why? And now you've got a new company as well, haven't you? Just since COVID, so can we talk a little bit about that as well?
Originally, I traded under OPTICSHOCK with my lighting design for theatre and concert and installations, and over time, about 10 years later, it has grown to the point where I had teams of people, then we would work together to pull projects off. The next evolution was OPTICSHOCK Asia, based in Hong Kong in the early 2010s, and that became a base for a whole lot of projects and work based up in that area. However, all of that has kind of wound up in the 2020s as post-COVID, and I'm now working with a team based out of the UK, a company called FrameSync, and we deal with virtual production for the cinema and episodic TV industries. In particular, I'm bringing expertise to do with real lighting and virtual lighting and how they are homogeneously mixed together.
You've worked across many genres of lighting, haven't you? Obviously you've done lots of big corporate and high-end brand events. You've done lots of music shows, you've done theatre, now you're doing the virtual lighting, and you've also done architectural and architainment. Is there any that you prefer, or do you just really enjoy the sort of the mega mix and the variety of all of them?
I enjoy the mega mix because they all have different requirements and specialities. Some take a year to get into place and make work. Others are in and out in a day. Some have 4 lights on a few push-up stands, and some have massive rigs that have to be installed for months to get into place. So it's great to be able to share knowledge and share technologies between those different vertical markets.
I want to talk a little bit about architectural and architainment and those elements of your work, and just ask what do you think are the most important considerations when you're lighting a building or a space or an object?
I like it when the physical structure and the illumination are really integrated together, and each of them really serves the other one in terms of providing surfaces in interesting shapes, or carefully edge lighting or uplighting those surfaces. That then creates one beautiful static resting scene, which will be usually the holding look for the building. Where lighting goes a step further then is that it can change the mood of the building by adjusting the color and the distribution of the lights and the patterns, which gives you more of a cue list rather than a static scene. And then I guess the next evolution after that is if there are synchronized music or other performative elements that combine with the structure, you then really have built an attraction, an entertainment destination for people to come and enjoy the space with the enhanced audio track that goes along with it.
Is there a sort of a memorable project that you engaged in that area? In fact, there's one including the Auckland skyline, which I'd like you to talk a little bit about.
For that skyline project, our team put searchlights on top of many of the buildings that are in the background here, including the Sky Tower up there, and we had to build a control solution for how to unify this network together. We weren't able to use cell phones, which might be a solution now, because all of the cell sites are pointing down rather than to the top of the buildings, which is where our control positions were.
For everybody's information, this was in 2011, wasn't it? And this was for the Rugby World Cup?
It was in 2011, so there weren't as many wireless control solutions available. So we built our own and networked together all of the buildings across about a 3-kilometre area, and we're able to get them synchronized for playing back a 10-minute show, synchronized to some music. What's
the coolest location you've worked in?
Maybe one of the coldest locations I've had to deal with was a project for Peter Milne at the Electric Canvas doing PG projection, large format projection in Beijing on one of the Forbidden City entrance gates. And it meant sitting outside in the dark in winter trying to line up these film on the facade of the building. And it was so cold. Because I'd come from summer in New Zealand, I was woefully underprepared. One of the PLA Army folk had to give me their huge mega winter jackets for me to sit there shivering, trying to program away.
What do you most love about your work?
There is a wonderful social, human experience of being able to tell stories to people that they experience in a group, or that they listen to as an audience, because people react in different ways when they are an audience, and it's quite special to be able to offer something that can become a memory for them in the future.